Hello everyone, today I'll be walking you through the Sony FX3 settings I use to get these kinds of shots. So the first thing you want to do is click your menu button and open up your menu. Now inside of your menu you'll see a bunch of different colored menus, and we're going to go to the second one and then go to main one to set up our basic settings. So the first thing I like to do is to make sure my white balance is set to manual. So we're going to scroll down, find Kelvin and put it on custom temperature. Now we're gonna navigate down one menu and we're gonna set up the video quality. So it very much depends on what kind of SD cards you use or media format on which you can choose. I'll put a little guide on the screen when you can use which codec, but we're gonna use XAVC HS 4K. This is H.265, so it's quite heavy, but my memory cards are V60 and they can still handle it, so that's very nice. Now we're gonna navigate to main 2 and turn on log shooting. We're gonna use Cine EI, but you can choose any of these depending on your needs. Now we're going to make sure it's S-Log3 S-Gamma3 Cine and embed LUT file is turned off. One more thing is to make sure steady shot is turned to standard and not active, so we do not lose quality. So we're gonna navigate back to main 1 and here we can change our base ISO in the Cine EI mode. We can choose between 800 and 12,800. I'm not going to go into detail how Cine EI works, but basically you do not touch your ISO. I'll leave a video in the description you can watch from somebody else. I like to put my white balance at 5200, it creates the most pleasing tones in my opinion, so yeah, that's where I put it. I personally don't use proxy recording, so we're going to leave it off, noise reduction off, and also we're gonna turn this down to about 24, and then we're gonna go on to the next settings. Now we're going to navigate down to our shooting menu, and in image quality we've already chosen our selected codec and quality, and in log shooting we also selected that. We turned off proxies, and for lens compensation you can choose whatever you want depending on your product. For example, for my needs when I'm shooting commercial products I turn it all on. When I have more of a film product, I leave them off. They create more character within your lens. Now, if we scroll down even more, I leave all these settings on default. Now we can go down one further, and we will leave this on default as well. And then we can put this on serial, so we do not have any copy files names. Now back in the menu, we can go to shutter/silent, turn on silent mode, because you do not want to hear all the little jingles every time you start recording or stop recording. Now, audio recording we've already set up, so we do not have to change anything here anyways, and we can go on to the next menu, which I'll also skip since we don't have to change anything here. So now at the end of the menu we can leave all of these settings as they are, or how you want them, because you don't really need to set them up to get going. Then when we move down into the exposure/color tab, we can start setting up here. Auto slow shutter I turn off, even though this only affects photo mode. ISO range is totally fine, it doesn't really matter, since we're shooting in Cine EI mode. Now everything is set up here, so we can go down even further, it's also set up correctly. And as for all of these settings, we can just slowly skip them because they're all set up properly. This as well, you can change it if you want, but I'm not using auto white balance, so it doesn't really matter. Here we're also already set up, and at the bottom of this menu you can import a LUT if you have a custom one, instead of using the one Sony supplies. The zebra display I usually put on 70, because that's where I would like to expose the skin tones. You don't have to turn it on there, but you can turn on zebra display here, or later in the FN menu on the back of your camera. Now we've scrolled down into the focus menu, we want to lower the sensitivity and the responsiveness of the autofocus a little bit, because it's really fast, and when you're filming you do not want it to be jarring. So after that we can leave all these settings as they are, because they are great. This is all good and set up properly on the camera already by default. This as well. Picking on, picking high and red, because it's nice and visible. And then after that all of these settings are already set fine for me. You can change them if you want, but you don't have to get shooting. Now in here you can obviously set your basic settings, and you can obviously put up your monitor brightness or whatever you want to make it more visible or more colorful. Make sure the quality isn't high, and you can flip it if you want as well. Then left in the last menu here, there are some settings you can change, like the LUT and also the D-squeeze if you're shooting anamorphic. Other than that, we can just keep going, and this is all set up completely fine. And then we come back to the main menu, where you can find all the adjustments for all the settings we've just set. So all the settings you will need, you can find in these two menus. Main 1 and 2 will supply them for you to change them, to turn them on and off, to change the settings behind it, and whatever you want. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you click the FN button on the back of your camera, you can set up your zebras again and all the other stuff that was more hidden inside of the menu as well. So you do not have to dive into the menu. You can obviously change what's inside of the FN menu, but you have to go into the settings for that. And you don't really need to, based on my experience.
So that was the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Very simple and straightforward. Quickly walked you through the settings and what I've set up. You can do this in your own way, obviously, but this just shows you how much better the new Sony menus are, how quickly you can set things up, especially in the FX30 and the FX3, since they have these features of Cine. See you all in the next one.